That's what I want to know. Did you early vote?
Oh, pardon?
Did you early vote?
Yes, I did. I got my
Okay.
vote in on the first day of early voting. Got in there and got out of there in like, I don't know, 8 minutes.
Had a big rally in New York City. Can you hear me okay?
I'm breaking up over here. Let me log out, log back in.
Okay. We've been having our share of challenges here. Who knows? It's the internet. What can go wrong will go wrong. But you keep on going anyway, nonetheless. Great to see you folks. Do check out BMoreNews.com. We had a wonderful event over at Howard University on Friday. Some dynamic honorees. We're working on our big event of the year. How's that? Is it a little better?
Yeah, a little better, a little better. All right. So,
Okay, so tell me about this rally in New York City. They tell me Trump went at, or they went at, the Puerto Ricans, the Baricua.
oh yeah, I saw that. I actually didn't watch the whole rally. I actually just went and watched the 10-minute comedian set. Um, it was that was bad timing, bad placement, bad everything. Like, how do you flip a whole demo like that in one night, this close to an election? Like, there were so many Hispanic people who were upset with them, with that whole group at that point. I'm like,
Well, let's be
I
careful,
mean,
Hispanic or Latino.
Latino, you're right. You're right. Good call. Good catch. But I'll be interested in seeing how this thing plays out because the Trump campaign has been known to do the most unorthodox things, and then it has a positive effect on it. I mean, this guy, I guess he's known for dark humor or something to that effect, or just racist jokes.
He's known for
Um,
white humor.
for white humor and racist jokes.
Why
um,
everything bad got to be dark and black? Sounds like white
because you
humor to
know.
me.
I mean,
Come
I don't
on,
disagree with
don't
you.
see it.
I mean, but then it's
Don't
like
see it
it's
the
interesting
racist.
that they would put him on stage this late in the game in that state.
Maybe call it light humor.
Bad humor.
Blackball, black eye, blacklisted. We got to flip this America upside down with this racist stuff.
Oh, you're right.
You know, my grandfather
All of
was from
this,
Puerto Rico.
all of the subtly racist things that happen. This,
Yeah, with
this
a
is
grandfather
but nah,
from
this
San Juan. Can you hear me,
what,
Andy?
what'd you say?
I said with a grandfather from San Juan. I can't tell you that I took it as a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Is my sound coming across okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I caught the last thing I heard was with a grandfather from San Juan. You can't say you took it as a joke.
Yeah, not at all. Your people are from Haiti. What was he saying about the Haitians? He
I
says
mean,
your
he was
people eat
talking.
dogs and cats. They still making
Mm-hmm.
memes about that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at it, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess they think attacking people on the racial divides and trying to divide and conquer the different nations is probably, I guess they think that's going to work out for them. Me personally, I think it's going to push people out of their camp who may have been in their camp. Um, but we really don't know until the votes are counted.
You know, a very wise person explained to me yesterday that races operate from a standpoint of fear.
Hmm.
And I said, well, what's the fear? And I was told that the fear is coming from a standpoint of scarcity,
Hmm.
that there's not enough resources for all of the people on Mother Earth. God
That makes
created the
sense.
whole world, the universes, the planets, the solar system. But there are people who believe that God didn't put enough resources here for everybody. So they operate from a standpoint of scarcity. That's why people like Elon Musk are running to the moon. Despite all the money they got on this side, their mindset is one of scarcity.
I go to the moon.
It's fear, man. I say fear of what? Fear of black men taking white women. Is that what it is? I mean, they ain't got to do
I
that.
think the fear is that if black men and
White women
black
taking
women
black
were
men. Is
to,
that what it is? I'm sorry.
they think that I think the fear is that if black folks were to achieve some level of equality or dominance, that we would
In
return the
this country.
favor of slavery.
In this country.
Hmm.
So
They
the
think that
fear.
we would return the favor of slavery.
So it's fear of retribution.
Hmm.
But that's somebody else's problem. That they're making it my problem. Because somebody else feels guilty about what their ancestors did and what they continue to do. Now you've made that my problem.
Well, it's not. It's that. It's the fear of they know because what Trump's first election showed me was that if there was a possibility of a return to slavery, there's millions of Americans who would who would want to bring to do it, who would drive the point to make sure it happens.
So
And
here's the
so it's less
irony.
about a fear of what their ancestors did. It's really just a matter of they know what they would do if they could.
Really. Well, see,
Mhm.
slavery wasn't just on black people. Slavery happened all over the world. It's not like there weren't Slavic slaves or slaves in the Middle East. Hell, Saudi Arabia and Dubai, because everybody wants to go to Dubai, they just ended slavery in the late 60s, early 70s.
Mm.
Do you think a lot of people who go to Dubai know that the slavery is only 50 years ended?
No, I don't think so. I
55
don't think a
years
lot of
away.
people who go to Dubai interact with people who are from Dubai. I think they go, they spend their time at the
Resorts.
yeah, the resorts, and they carry on like that. I doubt that they even take the time to go interact with those folks, beyond the ones who serve them.
I wanted to share an interesting fact, Andy, and I write about it in my latest book. That you know where the first black newspaper came from?
Um, no.
In America, it is said that the first black newspaper was Freedom's Journal. You want to get a copy of my latest book, Journalpreneur, to learn that Freedom's Journal was not the first black newspaper. Freedom's Journal came out on March 16th, 1827. I can never forget that day because it was that same day in 1985 that my mama got her wings. But upon doing the research, America did not produce the first black newspaper. Your country produced the second black newspaper.
So Haiti produced the second black newspaper?
Before America. 1827, by 1827, Haiti was already independent. Of course, they had their own newspaper. Jean-Jacques Dessalines and Henry Christophe.
Mm-hmm.
They had already kicked Napoleon square in his hind parts. And y'all still paying restitution today.
No, we finished paying it, but we still have a lot of recuperating to do. France needs to go ahead and kick that back, but it ain't gonna happen.
The first black newspaper came out of Sierra Leone.
Ah. The place that the British were dropping off all of the black people who helped them during the American Revolution.
Expatriates. A lot of us don't know that blacks fought with the British. And after the war, after they lost, they got sent to Nova Scotia because it was a bounty on their head. And after Nova Scotia, some went back to Liberia, some went to Sierra Leone. Well, they went the British expatriates, black expatriates went to Sierra Leone. Americans had established Liberia. Now, I heard recently that blacks went back to Liberia and put Liberians in slavery. I have to research that, but a very dear friend of mine, older brother from City College, told me that. I have to do some
Blacks
research.
went to Liberia and put Liberians in slavery?
That's what he told me. Swear to beans. Blew my mind.
Wow. Talk about programming.
Talk about pedagogy of the oppressed.
Mm-hmm.
And they got a big event coming up on December the 5th. Scrolling at the bottom, the soiree. You coming through?
Yep, I'll be down there. I will be present and accounted for.
Yes, sir. So what else is going on with this election?
Let's see. I like what Harry Hogan is doing as far as appealing to the split ballot voters. Very smart, good timing.
Do you trust Larry Hogan?
Do I trust Larry Hogan?
Do you trust Larry Hogan more than you trust Angela also Brooks?
I mean, let's not say all. That's not, you know.
I mean, can you trust either one of them?
I feel like I have a better understanding of what Larry Hogan's goals are than Angela also Brooks. I don't see Larry Hogan doing more than 2 terms in the U.S. Senate, whereas I see Angela also Brooks indefinitely.
Is that good or bad?
Huh? I mean, it all depends on what issues come up over the next few years. You know,
I
like
don't know
me,
what
I'm a
any of these
war hawk.
people stand for. Everybody says the stuff to get in the door. You know, I'm looking at the state of Maryland. And again, we got the largest black caucus in the country. Black governor, black mayor. We got blacks across the board. We should be pouring money into projects that we need. I bet you every other community would. But then, too, we as a community, we don't like poor black people. We like go along to get along black people.
I see. The thing is like, so here's the flips, right? You got with also Brooks. There is a good chance that she will back the black agenda and bring the money back and this, that, and the other. But with Larry Hogan, there is an equal chance that he will back the black agenda, but for 2 different reasons. For her, we would be counting on it because she's black. But with him, we'll be counting on it because he's trying to run for president and he's going to need a black support.
Do you think he can win presidency?
Do I think Hogan can win president? I think Hogan is the only Republican who could have beat Trump in a primary. Hogan beat Trump in the primary, man. Hogan would have mopped the floor with that guy. That's just me.
Wow. Wow, Andy. They should have had you on his team than some of these other people, maybe.
I mean, you know, he's got the people he trusts, the people he's comfortable with.
You know what I found? It's never the celebrity, it's always the entourage that's clowning.
You ain't wrong though.
But the celebrity chooses his entourage a lot of times. And so the celebrity has to be mindful of the people in his entourage. If they're turning off people, They're representative of you.
No, you're right about that. Pretty much, that's on display right now with the Trump campaign. He's over here losing the Latino vote left and right, all because of a comedian he chose to put on the what you call him. Now, granted, who knows how much following that comedian actually has, and who knows if this thing actually is going to give him a bump.
Hmm.
Because what people do in the poll, what people do in that voting booth, and what they say out loud is two different things.
I understand that. Now, what's your understanding of the turnout during early voting? I got a call from Baltimore County from a concerned poll captain saying that the turnout was low.
Mhm. I think the turnout is low. I've never seen, like, even on the first day of early voting, I went and I got in and out. But I remember pulling up to the parking lot and saying to myself, "Man, this is the deadest I've ever seen an early voting site." Like, usually it's like a party at the polling station from on for them 7 days of early voting. Everybody's out there. It's jamming. People are passing out literature. Young folks are throwing the football around. Everybody. It's community. It's dead out there right now. It is
Wow.
dead out there. That's one of the reasons why I fell in love with politics was election day, freaking early voting. You have everybody out there, all the gloves are off now. We're done fighting. Everybody's together. It's community. It's family. It's hugs. It's smiles. It's everything.
To be young and optimistic.
It's blood sport with a happy ending.
It is a blood sport. Politics is the dirtiest game on earth. You don't know whose commercial to believe. He says she's a crook. She says he's a crook.
I mean, the thing
Angela
is
says
though, the
Hogan
negative
made
with the
money.
I feel like they also Brooks should not have did the Michelle Obama and went high when Hogan went low. When Hogan went low after the taxes, she should have went low after his business associates. If
Never
you're gonna
did hear
play,
about
let's
the guy.
play. Hmm?
He had a guy that worked in his cabinet who killed himself, or did he get
Oh, he got
locked up?
shot by the FBI.
He got shot by the FBI.
Down in Texas. The guy with the book. I don't know why is it that book wasn't brought back out. Let's talk about what's in the book. But that's me. Like if when it comes down to digging for dirt and throwing mud balls, I'm pretty good at that. Like I'll go find something on you now. Try not to though.
Politics is the dirtiest game. I tell people it's dirtier than the dope game
Mm-mm-mm.
because it controls the drug game. Politics controls who's on the border, who's not, how many police on the border, how many are not.
Mm-hmm.
How concerned
Definitely
are people
does.
about immigration?
How concerned are people about immigration? It depends on which side you're talking to. And depends on the area. Because, the folks on the borderline of Texas, they are concerned. They're getting their properties damaged. They're, like that. A friend of mine just came back up from Texas. She was talking to, she does federal cases and stuff like that. So she's always bouncing around from, state to state to go deal with certain, what is it called? What is it? Social Security benefits. So she was down in a border town near Texas and in Texas and whatnot, and she was at a bar talking to one of the landowners down there, and she's saying it's not that they're crossing and coming into America that's the problem. It's that they're destroying our property while doing it. She had a $30,000 water container thing that it's like above the ground. I guess it's like one of those big ass because she had a farm type thing. So I guess it's like something that keeps clean water. And so they damaged it twice. So she had to replace it. $60,000. I can see somebody not wanting you to come to their country anymore if y'all cost $60,000 worth of debt, but just passing through.
There's something don't sound right about that, Andy.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean?
People don't normally just vandalize your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there's a reason. Maybe she called them a dirty name or something.
Maybe. There's definitely a caveat there.
Let's see what Michael Andy has to say about this.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, my two friends. Andy, always good to see you.
Yes, sir. How we doing?
Great, man.
We've covered a litany of topics. Your thoughts on the Barriqua getting smack talked about him by the Trumpsters in New York City? The Puerto Ricans, Barriqua.
Well, I don't know how we can be surprised at the openness of it and the love of so many people in this country of it. I mean, how can you have a president in the realm of personality of a Donald Trump that is neck to neck with someone credible without the backing of a significant of the population of the United States? So it just speaks to who we are as a country. Together we stand, divided we fall. So obviously, when you get 72 million votes and people know who you are, then we have to believe who it is that we deal with as a country every day. So,
okay, your thoughts on early voting?
It's a wonderful thing, man. I cast my ballot. On the, I think the first day that I was able to, took it up to my polling place with a camera up there, dropped it in the box, felt very secure, got notification. They had received it. I've seen campaigners out at the early voting sites physically. People seem to be engaged. I think any way that we can engage people, and what does it look like in the 22nd century where you never have to go to a polling place because, we trust the technological process and people can vote however, whenever, within a window. But I think there has to be some standardization throughout the country. And is that a constitutional amendment through our U.S. Senate and congressional bodies? But I think there has to be consistency throughout the country with what early voting looks like.
I mean, you got some states that don't even have early voting. I'm pretty sure Pennsylvania doesn't have early voting.
Yeah, I thought that they did. I thought that they had mentioned, the voting in Pennsylvania. I thought that they did. You could be right. I've been looking at so much of it. I know that I saw a number of about 45 million people throughout the United States that have voted already. And that's profound when you look at the fact that we had, I think, 140 million votes cast in 2020, and all of a sudden we've got almost a third of that, or close to almost a third of that in early voting already, and it's 1 week before election.
I mean, I guess the flow of votes is coming. I don't know. We gotta see, because I don't feel as though it's I don't think I don't feel like we're gonna end up with a high turnout. But we might.
Yeah, I think we absolutely will. I think people have a sense that this is their opportunity, regardless of what side you're on, is to lend their voice of support. And it absolutely is, to me, just my thoughts, it's absolutely a racial vote. A vote for Donald Trump is a vote for what he stands for, and people want to ensure that we understand, we meaning those on the other side, that there's support for this gentleman and what he stands for in their estimation, which is a country that was steeped in tradition of how it treated immigrants. So what they forgot is that Black people aren't necessarily immigrants. You know what I'm saying? We aren't immigrants, but yet the policies that you hear and the language that you hear on that side of the extremists, because all of a sudden extremists, you know, I remember the Black Panthers and other things, other groups during the civil rights era described as extremists. You have some extremists out here now. Did you hear Carlson Tucker? Did you hear Rudy Giuliani, who, by the way, give up them World Series rings, give up that condo in Palm Beach of $150 million that you owe, that you're going to pay because of what you did in trashing those two Black ladies in Georgia? Did you hear their language? Did you hear the language of people on that stage at Madison Square Garden, which was sold out, not sold out, given out, right? It's absolutely against, it's all about race. Either you're brown or you're white, and I think people are going to come out in record numbers. Thank God for early voting.
Well, Mike, I got to tell you, the early voting numbers are not looking good. But listen, we got a guy on hold. You ever heard of Iota Phi Theta?
I sure have.
Mr.
Hi.
James Mobley, how you doing, sir?
How you doing today, Donnie? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Andy, Mike, this man is a member of a fraternity, was founded on the grounds of Morgan State University. Is that correct, Mr. Mobley?
Yes, sir. You were in 1963. We're the last entrance into the Divine Nine. Again, we were formed at Morgan State University in 1963 on the steps of Hurt Gymnasium.
And my late dear friend Bus Hicks was one of the founding members, wasn't he?
Yes, sir. He surely was.
We used to wait tables, Mike, down at Harrison's Pier 5. And he would come through Shundo Kali, and nobody knew what he was talking about. But I tell you, he was a hustling brother, Jack. Sharp as a tack every day, Andy, every day, and made that paper. What you got for us today, Mr. Mobley? What you up to?
Yeah, well, you know, my fraternity, we are having my fraternity and the ladies of Delta Sigma Theta sorority are having a Baltimore alumni chapter. For the last 10 years, we've been having a expungement and reentry clinic down at the Our Daily Bread facility down on 727 Falls Way. And again, we're having this on this Saturday coming, and we're putting the word out for people to come down. If you have some type of have had some issues or some criminal issues or some things on your record that you think that you can get expunged, we're recommending or suggesting or asking people to come down and participate in our expungement clinic. It runs from 10 o'clock in the morning until 2 p.m. We'll also have different vendors there for health vendors and different people for employment, and also other community vendors that'll be there.
Andy, Mike, you got any questions for Mr. Mobley?
Hey, I just want to say, man, congratulations. Very familiar with Iota Phi Theta. Matter of fact, Dr. Keith Motley out of Boston, Massachusetts, the first Black president of a major university in the state of Massachusetts, was a member, and proud member of Iota at Northeastern University, where I went to school, man. And you guys do some phenomenal, tremendous things. I golf with a few of you down here in this area, man. That expungement clinic is huge. I was just speaking yesterday with my staff. I do a lot of workforce development, and we were talking about expungement. So I'm hoping Doni can get us to a point where you and I can exchange some information today, so that we can talk about perhaps an opportunity to what you're doing out there, to what we need assistance with, which is expungements and exposing people to some job opportunities. So great job, man.
Thank you. And that's one of the things that especially in this year, the governor had just passed legislation that will allow folks that have had prior marijuana charges to be expunged. So that's one of the things. That's one of the things that we're trying to emphasize, especially to a lot of our young people, because we started doing this because of the fact that we started seeing so many people were denied employment and denied opportunities to get housing and things of that sort, and so we felt that it was a good thing for us to maybe try to reach out to the community, find something, some means for folks to get some of these things taken off their records. Now, of course, you guys know they can't expunge felonies, they can't expunge drunk driving and domestic violence issues, but anything beyond that is usually something that that you can have taken off of your record.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We understand the gatekeepers for Black people that have had trouble versus white people that don't necessarily need expungement to get another chance because their boy's going to hook them up. We understand clearly that there are gatekeepers in terms of what expungement provides. I was with the Secretary of Safety and Corrections on Saturday for a great conversation. Carolyn Scruggs, who was looking for help in her system. The lowest job I saw advertised, she sent me an email saying, Mike, reach out to your folks. We need help in the corrections and public safety. And that's why we were having a conversation about some of our folks that need some expungement for those minor issues you mentioned, right? $53,000 in salary, $65,000 in salary, no degree required, but does a marijuana conviction, keep you from that opportunity? That's why we've got to partner and continue to ensure that our people are exposed to these great opportunities and how they rectify systemically those gatekeepers that were put up by the system to keep Black people from thriving. Because that's what it is.
You're absolutely right about that. Absolutely.
Okay,
and again,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Was there anything else you wanted to share, Mr. Mobley?
Yeah, I was just going to say, just repeat again, that it's going to be, the event's going to be held on Saturday, November the 2nd. It will be run from 10 to 2. It'll be at the Our Daily Bread, again, at 727 Falls Way. And again, we invite everybody, folks to come down. Then it'll be not just the expungement, we'll also have resources for people in the community and health screenings and things of that sort also.
Good deal. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Mobley. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You have a question, Andy?
So, I do have a question, right? So now, this is kind of might take us into a rabbit hole, but now expungements. I love the idea of an expungement, but the expungements really only touch on the null process. It only touches on the not guilty verdicts and everything else. Now, do you think that we socially need to start exploring the other things like shielding for people who have a guilty verdict? Like, how do we? Is there systems already set, like small programs right there to help people with changing their life around? Like, I know the only one that I can really think of is like where shielding a case. So like where it's still on your record as something happened, but the employers can't pull up the details.
Now I know some jurisdictions or some jobs or some government agencies, a lot of times they'll like the Baltimore City government and some government entities do have things where they don't actually look at your records, some of the smaller things on your record. Of course, again, the felonies and things of that sort are always going to be things that's going to pop up on you. But as far as shielding, I don't really think that a lot of entities do that. And again, a lot of times, some of them overlook it, some of them don't. Again, different organizations have different, rules or whatever. So, again, that would be a great idea because it would make a lot of folks eligible for things. But even just with the expungements, man, you'd be surprised, man, about just these misdemeanor things that can have a great effect on guys getting jobs and getting just to get an apartment. I never really realized that until I started doing this, that so many things can hinder someone from doing employment opportunities and apartments and, housing and things of that sort. You'd be surprised, man, how many people.
So let me just jump in there, Andy. And he's not a lawyer.
Right, I'm not.
Oh, sorry.
But considering that America has 5% of the world's population, but 25% of the world's incarcerated persons and 38% of them are Black men, any effort in this realm is a good thing. Mr. Mobley, we got to run. We got to get back to the political thing. You want to put a phone number out there?
Yes, sir. Mike, if you need to reach me, sir, Mike, my numbers are area code 410-971-4492. And if anybody has any questions about the expungement event, just give me a call at that number. Again,
let's get that number again.
410-971-4492. And again, my name is James Mobley.
We got the number in the chat. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Mobley. Thank you for coming to the Avenue Market, and thank you for your service. Thank you for not forgetting this otherwise forsaken part of town.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. That's what we're here for. That's what the IOs do. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Hey, Mike, you know what Iota Phi Theta mean?
No.
Well, I'll tell you in private. Anyway, so what about Donald Trump? You think Donald Trump needs an expungement? And why isn't he locked up? And if he were Barack Obama, they would have already sentenced him.
He needs
his record sealed.
The interesting thing is that it is what Brother Mobley was talking about is what we talking about, two different systems, right? And that's why we have to implore and build small businesses so that we can shield our own. Separate but equal is a concept that we have to come to understand, right? Because we continue to be shielded from a system of unfairness. Our returning citizens come back frustrated because they could not sustain life because they're frustrated, they can't get a job, etc. So they're back in the system because that's what the system intends. The free labor that they give inside of the walls is profound. It's no different than what it was with slavery that built this country. And Donald Trump, he could have 10 felonies, as do people that look like Donald Trump, and they still get a $150,000 job somewhere from somebody that gives them that opportunity. We know that.
So how long, Mike, do we, what is our strategy as a people? We got young black men who rather stand on a corner all day selling a few bags of weed than try to go and be a part of this system.
Well,
they feel like they lose their identity when they go in there. So consequently, before they even, some get so wrapped up in the street, they got tattoos on their face. And, we're already intimidating to the afraid people. But then we got a tattoo on our face that only exacerbates the intimidation.
Amazing how you mentioned selling nickel bags on the corner and they selling OZs in the shopping center. And we didn't get enough of that piece to take the nickel bag sellers, put them in the shopping centers and give them a piece of that. How unconscionable, unconstitutional, and reprehensible that we as Black people didn't fight hard enough when they locked us up for it, and now they legalized it, and we're not part of that system. It's our fault.
It's our fault?
Sure, it's our fault.
Oh my God, Mike.
It's our fault that we didn't get a piece. So all of a sudden, what was illegal and put thousands of us in jail now is legal, and we less than 2% of that economy. And we had Black leadership permeating throughout many of these political systems and processes that legalize marijuana from Colorado to Maryland to wherever. And we are a small minority of that, but we're a large, as you mentioned, population of the penal system that, put us in there for the very same thing that's now legalized. And these young kids with the business sense and acumen to be on the corner because they saw that as an opportunity for free enterprise were shut out of the system, shut out of that ability to have a store, a cannabis store inside a shopping center making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. When are we going to advocate and stand up for fairness?
I will say this though: the flip side about this is that Kat. The flip side about all of this is that the largest The largest consumers from dispensary cannabis is not Black people. Black people pretty much, like a lot of the Black people who smoke marijuana, they still go to their neighborhood drug dealer, their homeboy who's been selling weed since high school. Like they still like so that. And I remember I used to work with this guy who was from Colorado, and Colorado's had legalized marijuana for a number of years, and I remember asking him, like, listen, like, does the hood economy still is marijuana still a big deal in the hood economy? And he was like, no, seriously, like they compete because the people from the hood aren't gonna leave their neighborhood when they can just walk down the door, walk down the corner, talk to Ty or Pookie, and get themselves a couple, a couple grams. Where they can go to the white boy store, give them IDs, and do all of this, that, and the other just to get some weed. Nah, like so. The people who are using it are mostly white people. And
Andy, you ain't been to a dispensary, clearly. Because that's not the case.
You don't think it's mostly white people? If you sat there and you quantified the numbers,
in
you
Baltimore,
would think it's going to be mostly Blacks.
Baltimore.
In Baltimore.
Man, Black people all up in that dispensary buying Khalifa.
I agree.
I'm saying that there's not Black people in there. I'm talking about per capita.
Why don't you sit outside one of them?
I got to push back on Andy.
Sit outside one of them dispensaries. There are a bunch of Black people buying, and they find it to be cleaner without the toxins. And you got a receipt, so the police can't bother you.
Yeah, and Andy, you refer to it as the drug economy, right? Now since classified marijuana is not a drug, but yet we stigmatize it as a drug, so we can continue to lock people up that illegally compete with those legal businesses who are mainly Black. Okay. As Doni said, there are a significant number of all people that go there for the myriad of reasons he named. The fact that it's legal, they get a receipt, they don't get locked up, but yet we still have that neighborhood economy of marijuana, because it's medical from what they say. You described it as drugs, right? So all of a sudden, when you do drugs illegally, what does that mean? There's a sentence attached to it, right? So we have to begin to change our mentality in terms of how they do business, how we see business, and not necessarily stigmatize our own people, man. But
here's the thing, though. Like the contrary to popular belief, the cannabis you find on the street corner is backdoored from the dispensaries, from those same growers. They're not growing their own separate batch.
The street weed was here first. The dispensary weed is typically, to my understanding, grown in a more sterile environment.
Absolutely.
The street weed has them cats from California. They are backdooring their stuff.
Regulation
them cats
on it,
everywhere. Ever since hydroponic grows has been a thing, they've been on the streets.
Okay, Andy, it's when you have have you ever been inside one of these farming plants? I've been in one down in Anne Arundel County. You got to wear a white suit. Everything is sterile. It's government regulated.
So you're telling me that nobody working in there is like, you know what? Hey, listen, grab this pound off me. I'll slide it to you for $1,600.
They don't have to. They don't have to. And why would they take a chance on their license by doing so?
They don't want to violate their license. How much is that license? $10 million?
It's a lot of money. I tried to get Green Street Academy. Green Street Academy down on Hilton Street has a large greenhouse, right? And they're growing watermelon, this and that. And a guy named Mike Sarbanes, John Sarbanes' brother, took me on a tour along with a couple other people. And I said,
that's David Warnock's spot, right?
Yes, David Warnock's spot. And I said to Mike, I said, it's unconscionable that we can't help fund these young people's education by letting them grow something that's now legal, turn into a legal business, teach them about the business aspect of it, and let them be a part of it here in the inner city. But we don't think that way about business.
Let me say this, Mike. I gotta jump in. We don't have one black weed shop in Baltimore.
Nope.
That's the crime. That's the sin. That's where all of these black politicians need to be choked up and thrown in the harbor. Not one black-owned spot.
Then you
Why?
understand what I'm saying. You
You
understand
got a
what I'm
black
saying.
governor, a black mayor, a black treasurer, a black attorney general, and in Baltimore, you don't have one black dispensary. That's the damn crime.
Shut out of the game. This is what I'm talking about. Shut out of the game. And that's
like this. The dispensary
That's
on the corner,
man.
Asquith and North Ave, that open air dispensary stays jamming.
Yeah, I think you're missing the point, right? You're missing.
I'm just messing with you.
No, I hear you, but you know we've been messing too long and not being part
I don't know
of
if it's 100
because
million.
we don't take the nature of that business serious, man. And we got these.
Considering how much money we spend on luxury items, that 100 million is insignificant. I mean, but you give me a lot of credit. But you tell me with all of the black
takes $1,800 or $18,000, and she goes to jail for 6 months trying to do something. I mean, what
Cheryl Glenn?
What are we thinking?
Cheryl Glenn.
You remember Cheryl Glenn? She got jammed up trying to promise people to pass stuff through, but not for us, but for her. For $18,000 and they going for $100 million. Are you kidding me?
I don't speak ill of Cheryl Glenn. That's me.
I'm not speaking ill of anybody. I'm just
These are the facts. These are the facts.
That's a fact. You know what's amazing to me, Donnie?
Is Donnie frozen?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No, I'm here.
What's amazing to me, Donnie, is that here we are a week out from the election, Donnie, right? And we have Donald Trump, Larry Hogan, Adam Schiff, Ted Cruz, and I just can't distinguish between any of them when it comes to policies based on black people, but each one of them are recruiting and trying to market their spiel to black people. Do we have any real power, Donnie? What's our power other than on election day?
You know what's sad is the black men who are out here speaking ill of women. Your first teacher was a woman, but there's this movement of dudes who probably ain't getting sex, who ain't got nothing good to say about women.
Well, I know you're being.
We talk about the Kamala haters.
Yeah, I know you're being facetious there. I don't know if it's Kamala haters. I think maybe it goes back to what we spoke of before, the lack of being able to be sustainable by black men are frustrated in many parts. I'm not making that a blanket statement, but a lot of black men are just frustrated economically, man, that the opportunity that presents itself to white, non-educated or non-degree males is not what they're able to get. And so where do they go? They go where they think somebody's, ice is colder or water is colder and what the promises are.
The things I've heard some of these brothers say is sad.
You just reminded me of a conversation that I had with a friend of mine, a white guy, right? And he's a weird guy as far as like his perspective on men versus women, and a little bit chauvinistic, right? And so he goes off on this tangent about how because he's a white guy and he dates a lot. He primarily dates white women, and he's like, about how all these women, this feminist movement, and how women are making more than men, and this whole pay gap is just a straight up lie, and this, that, and the other. And he goes off and he goes off and he goes off and he goes off, and he's like, you don't have to deal with that as a black man, and I have to stop him. Like, shut the hell up! You don't know nothing about the black struggle. Number one. Number two, black women have been out earning black men for like decades now. We're figuring out ways to deal with it, man.
So look, here's the comment. Jason put this up.
I want to see that comment he put up there before, Donnie.
Oh, you talking about Cheryl?
was trying to get us a seat at the table, and she was also trying to get her bills paid.
If you'd like to come and explain yourself.
Yeah,
we heard.
You're absolutely right, Donnie. Bring them on. Let them tell us what that means. Get us a seat at the table, or tablet rather, because what she was trying to do was get paid. That's the bottom line.
One could certainly take it that way based on some of the
evidence. Is
evidence.
that the guy that died, Lance Lucas, the guy that died a couple of years ago?
For real, for real. That was his comment. For real, for real. I mentored Lance back in the mid-'90s at Coppin State.
And speaking of Lance, you had a Lance on your show last week?
Lance
Lucas
Lucas
been passed away for a little while.
I went to his restaurant last week after you did the show. The next day.
Which one?
Carolina Kitchen out in Owens Mills, man.
He got 5 of them down in the D.C. area.
Well, he got one of the 5 that ain't open.
Huh?
I was not happy. And then I did, of course, my homework.
Do we want to do that? Okay.
Listen, all I'm saying is I wanted to support the.
Mike, we should give the business the benefit of the doubt and at least pull him to the side. But here you go. Hold on, Mike. Slow down, Mike. You asked for Jason Rodriguez. There's Jason Rodriguez. One thing at a time, Mike.
Okay. Well, we'll let this your show. You right. Hey, Jason, what's up, brother?
You muted.
We can't hear you. Can't hear you. Audio. We can't hear you. Cut your mic on.
You should be able to hear me now.
Yes.
There we go.
Good morning. Good morning, gentlemen. Grand Rising.
Come on.
Just so really quick. So I knew Lance. As a matter of fact, me and Lance had the opportunity to work together at the aerial surveillance program. We were doing the give backs to the community in reference to building programs, wraparound services for the community. One of the projects that we put together.
Computer giveaways, right, Jason?
I'm sorry?
You're talking about the computer giveaways, right?
Well, Lance was doing that prior to. When we got together, we started a organization called Digital Bay, which was going to be an incubator for young people to try to basically help them to develop their products and services, whatever dreams they may have had in reference to technology, robotics, whatever.
Got you.
Okay,
we're talking about the weed. We're talking about the weed.
When I had an opportunity to talk to Lance in reference to it, Lance said, not everything is, all what everybody understands and what everybody knows. Yeah, there was some, wanting to get some kickbacks in reference to the initiative, but the main goal and the main object of all of them coming together and pushing the initiative was to try to get more inclusion in reference to the growers and the distribution that was going on, because of the fact that they had marginalized the language of the law to take out the quotas for Black folks, because she was trying to implement quotas for Black folks. But what they did was instead they said, no, you can't use that language. You have to use minorities. And then we know that minorities now include everybody, including the LGBTQ community, white women, of course, Black women are a double minority. But everybody else.
You said she was trying to get us a seat at the table.
Correct.
You started off your comments with saying there was some talk of some kickbacks. Best believe the justice people, the white people, zeroed in on the kickbacks, not her trying to get us a seat at the table. I think that's what Mr. Haney's point is.
I just have a question for Jason. At the end of the day, what's the reality of us having a seat at the table based on the effort that either of them was trying to make? One can't speak for himself. One haven't heard from her.
Right? She's done a broadcast.
Yeah,
at least 2
I said I have not heard from her.
It's on YouTube.
Okay, I'll look at that. But what is Jason, your opinion in terms of where we are, right? With a seat at the table of a multi-billion-dollar industry of which tens of thousands of Black men primarily were locked up due to Joe Biden endorsing, the the Crime Bill Reform Act in 92, 93. Where are we? Are we any further ahead in that regard?
No, unfortunately, no. It's unfortunately a white dominated industry. I was monitoring this as soon as I knew, that we were in the legislation for legalization, whether it was municipal or whether we were looking at recreational. I had been following Annapolis and following the law and doing the research. And what's interesting, there's a program called Weed Etiquette that really spelled it out. They showed, that this was a white dominated industry. They went to a meeting in Denver, Colorado, which had just legalized it. And the gathering meeting was just nothing but white figureheads, multi-million millionaires, that were coming together to dominate the Denver market. Nobody local could really get in the market with that type of power and that type of organizing, of finances and consolidating of the industry the way that they've had. Unfortunately.
Absolutely. Wouldn't it be nice, Jason, if we were to leverage our voting power for economic power such as that? Hey, you ain't getting a block of us until you give us a block or a piece of that.
Yeah.
I
wish in some cases.
I don't care how you figure out
Right.
how to do it. I don't want to hear about your robots, but we don't just want you sitting down having lunch with us over chicken and mac and cheese and collard greens, getting up, we feeling good, and then 4 years later, as we are today, our economic viability and situation is no different than it was before because there was no tangible ask.
Right.
Right.
I think in some cases we have to really practice collective economics. That's what everybody else is doing. Even these folks, when you watch the episode of Weed Etiquette,
economics.
collective economics. So
Yeah, I'm thinking separate economics.
Right. No, when I mean collective within our community. In other words, us coming together to dominate an industry. Like, for instance, if we wanted to dominate construction, we should all be putting our money in a pot that allows a Black contractor to go out there, to have the financing, to get the equipment, to be able to purchase the materials so that they can sit on 90 days, however long it's going to take them to get money from the general contractor, because that's usually a lot of the issues with our contractors is we just don't have
capital funding.
Correct. The lack of funding and the lack of wherewithal. We don't have the equipment. We don't have the resources sometimes, but we do if collectively we put ourselves, together.
Jason, that makes sense. Practically speaking, we got to hold our politicians hostage to the needs, because theoretically what you just said just don't happen, man. We know how it is.
Yeah, but they're supposed to be the drum majors. To me, that's where true leadership comes in at. That's where, you have a mayor or whoever, your delegate, your representative, who gives the vision or who's willing to take the vision from the community and lead the charge and help organize all the pieces together so that we can build our community up. And that's where I really feel our politicians have failed us at. They haven't been that true leader to guide us.
We don't have the right strings attached. We don't have the right strings attached to my vote. There's strings attached to everything. You want something from me, I want something from you. There's a string attached to it. And that's just the reality of life. God bless America and the capitalistic system. You know what I'm saying? That we don't have strings attached to what you need from me to a point where it's going to benefit me. You just come down and give me an okie doke song and dance. I say, yes, sir. I love that. You got my support because you are saying the right things, but you're not putting in ink to paper what it is that bounds you to what you say. Because we don't hold their feet to the fire. And I saw Leroy McKenzie mention Tupac. I support Black women, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And I don't know where that notion came from. To me, that upset me when President Barack Obama said that.
The divide mentality that we put.
That's all we've ever known is our women in our community. You know what I mean? I think he would understand that, if he wasn't grown up, around white grandparents. And I hate to say that. He doesn't understand that dynamics of a Black household and the struggles that a Black woman may have had in a household. He just doesn't relate to that. You know what I mean? That's something that unfortunately many of our households understand. The single Black woman, raising the family the best she can.
My mother raised 4 of us, man. I understand exactly what you say, but it doesn't mean we don't hold each other accountable to what we say. Just because you're a Black woman don't mean I'm automatically going to support you. if it puts me in the same position because I know the special interest behind you ain't black.
Well, I think the spirit of Obama, what he was trying to say was not as a grand scheme of things. You think he was more speaking to the virality, the people who are very vocal, with with who are very vocal supporters of Trump, the black ones and whatnot. Their reasoning, their idea, their rationales for why they hate Trump, why they hate Kamala so bad. It's not about her professionally.
Do you think it's hate? I don't think it's hate. I think it's ignorance.
I think it's sexism.
I don't think it's that. I just think that we have been promised so much from so many places that we think that the white man's juice is golden. And it has nothing against her. It's just that, you know, is her swag and her conversation in tune with what it is that they feel they need at this time? I think there's an air of desperation among some black men that have them looking for hope in the wrong places, man. You know, and as Leroy McKenzie said, we're going to stop looking for others to do what we should do by doing what it is we have to do ourselves. And we need to stop talking and doing. And, you know, so all that makes sense. We've been saying it for decades. We all know that Brown versus Board was a destroying of the black economy and neighborhoods. We all know that Black Wall Street was burnt to the ground in Oklahoma because it was a thriving economy. And then when we went out and desegregated, how do now we come back together? How do we come back together? How do we support? Hey, the pastors of these great churches in urban environments, they moved out to the suburbs too, leaving the neighborhoods to be gentrified. Then we complain about gentrification. What do we want? How are we going to achieve it? To Leroy McKenzie's point, or to your point, how do we achieve it? How do we change the structure of our dollar lasting only 6 hours in our community versus a white man's lasting 12 days? How do we get to what Jason said, the capitalization of opportunity by pooling our money together? How do we get there? Dr. McKenzie, how do we begin to do and not talk? When you have little to do with, and all you can do is talk and look for hope from someone like Kamala or someone like Joe or someone like Donald. You know, we just a generation removed from plantation, but the mentality of a plantation is still here.
And we suffer from Stockholm syndrome.
Whoa.
We're in love with our oppressor, you know, unfortunately, you know.
We all need to go to Africa and visit the motherland and see what true happiness is and contentment is, that isn't necessarily based on materialistic value and gain, but the ability of sustainable communities that support, love, and endure each other, right? Not that there's still not stuff happening, crime, political madness, etc., but you can go days and not see anyone that looks like Trump or Biden and be okay with it.
I think we need to take over our entertainment.
Our what?
I think if we had more black people in control of black entertainment, we would have a different perspective. The black trajectory would be different.
Well, unfortunately, when you talk about, man, yeah, so now you go into the Middle East and we can have some real deep conversations about, listen, man, if you're ready to go down that path and explore it and not understand the consequences of who controls entertainment, who controls the New York Times, who controls media, you know, why? Remember Arsenio Hall?
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever forget Arsenio Hall and the display.
I don't know what happened to Arsenio Hall.
You don't?
I just know who he is.
Okay, then you go and you study and learn who Arsenio Hall was and what happened to him, and to what you just stated. Then you'll understand with what you just stated that perhaps you've got to understand that. Go look at Arsenio Hall. and he has come back with skint knees back into entertainment because they allowed him to, because he apologized. Jason, do you understand what I'm saying?
By the way.
And so when you say things like we have to take over entertainment, or maybe what you meant was we have to create our own, right? And every time we do so, you know who BET was sold to, that Bob Johnson sold out for a couple of $1 billion?
Viacom.
Do you know who owns Viacom? So man, it is deeper, because when you control messaging and communications and media, you control the thoughts of people, which is why we've always talked about Black media needing its own platform and vehicles.
Right.
It's a deep conversation, man.
And even the way we operate business, though, like even looking at the Sean, Diddy Combs situation, everybody was complaining, about the fact that he owned the royalties and, owned all the copyrights and all this stuff. But that was how business was ran, and mostly all the record labels, white record labels, prior to. All Diddy did was just practice the same model, the same blueprint, the same formula that all of the other record labels had followed. Even the independent labels, Sleeping Bag Records, Cold Chilling Records, all of them had all followed the same blueprint of owning the masters, owning the copyrights, owning the publishing. You know what I mean? So when he did it, instead of him doing it fairly, or that's I guess that's the point I'm trying to make, is instead of us going into business and understanding that there are these ills that have taken wealth away from us as artists, as creators, as publishers, and coming in and doing things differently, doing things more equitably, doing things more fairly, doing things more inclusive, making sure that artists have the ability to take advantage of their royalties and their publishing and the copyrights. He had the opportunity to come in and do things differently. And those who have come into the industry have done things differently. You see, their artists are shining. There are a few examples of those who are out there that have done that. But in this situation, he did the same predatory practices as everybody else did in the.
Well, you have a point there. You have a point, but Diddy, I think, was a heck of a businessman that modeled, as you said, business, because the design, and the model is what it is. The good thing about Diddy and Harvey Weinstein is they suffered the same fate for their atrocious behavior as human beings, right? But their business models kind of mirrored each other, although Harvey's was substantial. Right? Substantial. And Diddy did a lot of things that were good, but his humanistic behavior and his ego became bigger than his business model. And so therefore he had to suffer the same fate as Harvey Weinstein. Right? And that's all I got to say. I got to tell you, Jason, Andy, this has been phenomenal. I got to get back and make some money so that I can hand out to some people that have a need as best I can. But this is real, man. This is real. Thank you all so much, man.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
On that note,
good to see you, Jason, man. Good to see. It's been a while, man.
Yep. It has. Even Andy, it's been a while as well. So
yes. It's always a pleasure with you guys. Great minds. I don't know how to do Donnie Glover's poem, but we're gonna go ahead and close out on this one. It was a great conversation. Everybody get out there.
Hey man, forget Donnie's poem. What's your own, man? Develop your own. Let's go ahead and let you do your own.
Right. There's only one person that could do the, up to date, down today, up tomorrow. There's only one person that could do that as far as I know.
So what's yours, Andy? Go ahead, man. We're not leaving till you come up with your own, man. Forget that.
Sign us off.
There you go, man. Forget Donnie. Donnie, we love Donnie dearly, man. But there's a lot of different roads to success.
Yeah.
I love you guys, man. Y'all take it easy, man.
Yep.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Y'all have a great week with purpose.
Absolutely. Right. Go vote.
Yes, get out and vote.
Get out and vote.